Sagittarius, hello there, my beautiful friends. We're going to do your general tarot reading for early March 2026. Thank you so much for joining me today. You know, I appreciate each and every single one of you. So let's get right down to business, as always, and start you off with an oracle card here, just so we could dip our toes in the energy and see what's happening for the lovely Sagittarius collective. Hope you're all doing fabulous and fantastic, my friends. Let's get it going here. My guide, spirit team, talk to me. What do we got for the beautiful Saggies in early March? We're moving on through the year. What energies, messages, insights can we take a little peek at? And yeah, we're just going to take a real quick look at this first card. Then we'll get into the full reading itself. At the very end, I'll pull you a bonus card from the Shadowland Tarot just to see what might be in the shadows or what shadow work you can lean into, which is always interesting. But let's get it going here. Let's rock and see what we got for Saggy in early March. What's the vibe here? What's the energy for my good friends? Oh, there we go. Nice and quick. Okay. So this is a very deep soul searching type of energy. So if you're not in that mode, maybe someone else is. I like this card because it seems very simplistic, but there's a lot of depth. There's a lot of layers to the onion, and it can mean a lot of things. Now, before we fully dive into that, if you're new here, I'll be speaking about the March subscriber surprise towards the end, so you might want to check that out. And also, if you could kindly illuminate that like button by tapping it right on its third eye, you know, I'd greatly appreciate it. But enough of the promo, back into the reading. Let's talk more in depth about this. So if you look at the illustration, we have this individual here. They're blindfolded, hoodwinked, bamboozled. They don't look like they're stressed out, right? But they are doing some sort of searching or soul searching. We see all these little different insignias of different religious and spiritual practices. So this image obviously tells us that this person's mind and focus isn't on the external material world. It's more so on the spiritual philosophical realm. So for a lot of Saggies, I know that's something that a lot of you really love to do, dive into philosophical or spiritual things. This card matches that perfectly. So any sort of spiritual ritual, spiritual practice, spiritual talking, really very much favored. Now, aside from that, as I mentioned earlier, this could be someone doing a lot of soul searching, going within, looking for the deeper mysteries of reality itself, which I always think is pretty cool whenever I see it. Doesn't mean if you're cross-watching for a Saggy that they're going through an existential crisis. I don't mean that. But the energy is very much introspective, which I do like. I love the spiritual. Anytime we see someone blindfolded, it can also represent mystery. So I don't want to leave that out. It's not just someone looking at the mysteries of life. There could be certain pieces of information that you're searching for or understanding that you're looking for. So we're just going to let that person keep doing what they're doing. They're on their little journey. Let's get into tarot. And yeah, I always say that first card, it doesn't make or break the reading. It's just a little footnote. So let's get you 3 tarot cards in the upright. Then we'll get into that intuitive juiciness. Let's shuffle it up one time here for Saggy. And while we get this shuffled up and ready to go, let's talk about last week's reading. So the session itself was mostly focused towards communication. And the reading was titled An Explosive Talk. So again, whether it was something that popped up out of the blue, came in out of nowhere, I felt an intensification, like something I'd intensified really quick. And I also felt that some Saggies out there may have been a little more blunt than you normally are. But we're going to see what shows up this week. Remember, that energy could bleed over. But yeah, as you know, energy is very fluid. It's never set in stone. So only take this how it hits for you, because we could be seeing your vibe or somebody else, right? Let's get it going. 3 cards for Saggy in early March. What do we got this week? What do we have in early March for my good friends? Cool. 2 wands. It's a lot more strategic, I could tell you that. So it kind of ties in with this like introspective vibe here. The 2 wands is searching. What is this searching? What are you searching for? Are you solving a mystery? We'll see. Let's get them tucked in right here by the amethyst. Let's get a couple more. There's either some searching going on or planning. Okay, even here with the Queen of Pentacles. We'll look at her too. All right, one more. It's like I'm registering a lot of information here already. Okay. Not the 5 of Cups. So it's like the energy I'm picking up this week, I'm feeling very middle of the ground about it. Or middle path, because I don't feel like it's miserable, but I'm not over the moon, with how it's presenting itself. Like there's a nice mixture, if we could call it that. But let's go through. I'll give you some of the classical meanings and archetypes. Then we'll get into that juicy, intuitive stuff. But at first look, first glance, we have a nice mixture of elements. There's a certain vibe I'm picking up here already. Even though I'm more focused on the elements right now, right this second, it's like a compartmentalization where it's like this is separate and this is separate and this is separate. So I'm not sure if someone is like compartmentalizing things, like putting them in a box. But again, to the elements, that talks about the certain areas of life or how energy is moving. We have a good mixture. I mean, we have fire, earth, and water. These are all totally different things. Whereas fire, that's the realm of action. That's your power element. That's your comfort zone. So whether it's the actions that you take, the actions other people take, the actions that we're planning on taking, big when it comes to this fire. It could also represent vitality, energy levels. So whether your energy is feeling high or low, or that neutral middle path that I've been picking up. The only thing with fire, I love that it's passion, drive, and desire based. But the downside to fire, which I'm sure some of you already know, it could be unpredictable. It could be a little explosive, like we were seeing last week. So we need to keep an eye. In the middle, we have Earth. Pentacles. It represents stability and security. So whether that's our sense of internal security or literal material security, work, money, business, career. So a lot of you might be very much pentacle focused, might be stacking up those pentacles. Nothing wrong with that. It could represent home and the family. Whenever I see Earth, I think of the material world, material reality, not the spiritual. So it's funny that we started off with something that was all spiritual, but then we have this material anchor showing up. So watch out for distractions. And then here on the back end, we have water, the emotional realm, how we process feelings and emotions. Water can represent things or people that we care a great deal for. Emotional investment. Water is great for creativity, thinking outside of the box, creative expression, the arts, and all that kind of stuff. The downside to water is that it could be very up and down. There's an unpredictability to it. It's always coming and going and waxing and waning. So we'll need to look into all this. But as I mentioned, to me, there's a certain energy here that seems to be segmenting, or it's like, I'll put this here, I'm going to put that there, and put this over here. So let's go through and start building this out piece by piece. Position number one, we're starting with the Two of Wands. Now, I always say when it comes to all twos in tarot and numerology, they could represent decisions, choices, being at a crossroads in life. They could also represent partnerships. There's a lot of analysis going on here, especially with this Two of Wands, because we see our pal, he's kind of chilling, looking at the road ahead, little globe in the hand. So this one, out of all the twos, I tie in strongest with planning and strategy. So whether you're moving in a very strategic, planned out, meticulous type of way, maybe someone you're connected to, they have a big theme or strategy that they're planning, that could all be in play when this card is here. It's like, I'm looking ahead, I'm looking to the horizon, and if I'm going to do something, I want to do it the right way. But then I also get this energy, not of just strategy, but analysis, where it's like, I need to figure this out. Why is it doing it this way? So I'm not sure if you're under the microscope. It might be something you're keeping an eye on, or maybe someone's keeping an eye on you. That's very possible when this card shows up. Now, the downside with the Two of Wands is the fact that sometimes it's an energy that could feel stuck, a little indecisive, or just blah. So watch out for those feelings of like blah, boredom. Nothing wrong with neutrality. Nothing wrong with usual day-to-day life, but this energy could get a little too dry. Now, moving to the middle, we have the Queen of Pentacles. Like it. This could be an earth sign you're connected to. So Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn. Maybe you have some of those placements yourself. Queens represent the internal aspect of her suit. So we already spoke about this. Is more centered around security, stability, and the material world. So usually she's great. To me, if it's not representing a person, when I see the Queen of Pentacles, I'm like, all right, that's cool. This energy, it's very predictable. It's very set. It's very routine. Blessings and abundance. It's great. But it does tie into that feeling I've been having about the neutrality, where it's like, I don't hate it, but I don't love it. They're like, there's this certain energy that feels very neutral for some reason. So I'm not sure if that's an energy you're projecting or if it's somebody else. Now, the downside to the Queen of Pentacles is she could sometimes feel stuck. So notice what I'm seeing. We have this neutrality, but then again, we also have these energies here in the front that feel like they're not progressing how they should. Definitely watch out for boredom in this time, seriously, because like with all this energy I'm picking up, like things could get boring really quick. Then on to the back end, we have the Five of Cups, the River of Tears. Now, it's not the worst card in the whole entire deck. It is more so a transitional energy. Sometimes to me, I think of growing pains, where change and metamorphosis, they're not always easy. Sometimes it's simple, sometimes it's a process. And that's one thing I always pick up with the River of Tears. Now, it can represent someone's emotional state. And I would say it's on a spectrum. It could be very minor. Maybe you're just a little gloomy. Maybe you have a couple of grumpy days. Maybe you're just feeling a little low energy. But the Five of Cups can also be heartbroken, depressed, really feeling down. So with all this energy, I don't know why I feel so stagnant this week. I'm not used to seeing that in a Saggy reading. But the good thing I'll say about the Five of Cups is, yes, it's growing pains. It's an indicator of change, and just going through a process, that something isn't going to stay the way it is forever, that it has no choice but to move forward. So I want to dive deeper on all this, Saggy. Let's do it. Let's jump in and clarify. Okay, let's get a good shuffle here. Yeah, we'll see if that Five of Cups is minor, major, if it's a problem or a situation. But yeah, this is where I go intuitive with the message, which means I just tell you how it feels to me. So feel free to do further research or rely on your base knowledge of tarot, because as you know, every single reading is about the reader's interpretation, and I'm just giving you mine. Let's go in on the Two of Wands. And yeah, if you're a reader yourself, please feel free to play along. That's why the box is here. If you're feeling any messages you want to give to Saggy, could drop it in the comments. I don't mind at all. Okay, Two of Wands. Why is it here? Thank you. Cool. This energy seems to be waiting on the perfect time. Okay, now I'm getting other people's energy. I will say this, Saggy, if you are very sensitive to energy, um, you could be really picking up the vibes, feelings of others without even realizing it. So keep that in mind, especially if you've been experiencing spikes in energy where it's like really, really dry and boring, very, very neutral. Oh, really, really happy for a minute. Like I'm getting energetic spikes here for some reason, which isn't a bad thing. But as far as this like planning, strategic type of energy, when I see the Two of Wands with the Knight of Cups, it's like I just want it to be perfect. I just want it to go right. Now, a lot of time, listen, there's nothing wrong with perfection. There's nothing wrong with chasing perfection. But sometimes if you try to over plan or over strategize or over perfect something, uh, are you ever going to get where you want to go? That's the big question, because at some point you need to move out of the plan phase into the action. So to me, this is an energy that's thinking, planning, strategizing. It wants everything to be perfect. This needs to happen. This needs to happen. This needs to happen before I move forward. So again, I'm not saying that could be you or somebody else. You would decide, but there's a certain meticulous energy. So if like you've been waiting on something, whatever it might be, there's someone that needs everything to be just right, just perfect before they make a move. Okay. And I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but that's the vibe I'm picking up here. So we have this very strong strategic planning going on. So, which could be good, but I just want to mention that this energy shouldn't stay in that vibe forever. That eventually the action is necessary. All right, let's move in on the Queen of Pentacles. Nothing wrong with chasing perfection to whoever this is, but if you're just always planning, 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 and you never do something about it, what's going to happen, right? You're always going to be circling. All right, so let's go in on the Queen of Pentacles. Let's see what the Queen of Pentacles is. Good. Okay. So we have the Seven of Wands in the upright. Again, there's this energy here where it's like, I don't hate it, but at the same time, I feel like something isn't as easy as I thought it would be. So watch out for any situation, problem, where it's like, oh, wow, this is more serious, or this is more difficult than I thought it would be, where it's like, I wish it would just come easy. For some people, this could be like a macrocosm thing where you're just looking at life itself, where it's like, oh, it's always a fight, it's always a struggle, there's always a problem, there's always a situation. For some people, it could be something very small. It really depends on what you're going through right now. But when I see the Queen of Pentacles with the Seven of Wands, it's like, why does it always have to be a fight? Why can't it just go smooth? It's someone thinking in that kind of fashion. Now, could it be the same thing? Could it be something totally different? I mean, I like the determination with the Seven of Wands. It's a great card for saying, you know what? I don't care. I'm going to reach it. If there's something I want, there's something I want to accomplish, I will get there one way or another. So I love it for that. But at the same time, it's an energy that just wishes something would just come easier. Where it's like, why does it always have to be a thing? Why does it always have to be a problem or a situation? So now we're going to really need to pay close attention to the Five of Cups and see, like, all right, well, what's going on here then? Because I still see good energy. That's another thing I'll say, Sagittarius. Like, yeah, I'm feeling very neutral about all, but yeah, we have the planning and the push. I feel neutral about it, but there's still great energetic potential here. So what's going on the Five of Cups? Such a unique reading this week because there's certain things about it that I love, but there's also a frustration under the surface where it's like, but why does it have to be so difficult? So let's go in on the Five of Cups. Let's see what's up. Why is the Five of Cups here? Okay. Very important to not be too hard on yourself. All right, so we got our good friend here, Mr. King of Cups, aka Kyle of Cups himself. He doesn't have a beard, but he does have a goblet, and he is chilling out. So, Five of Cups, King of Cups combination, it represents a few different things to me. So I can say that there is a potential for a difficult or a serious situation or a problem to pop up, especially with what we have here in the middle. So we have good stuff, but at the same time, we have stuff that's not easy to work through. So keep that in mind. But when I see the Five of Cups, King of Cups first, this feels like an energy where it's like suppression, where it's like I'm feeling this way, I'm just going to push it down. I'm not going to tell anyone about it. I'm going to keep it to myself. This could also represent very big feelings, right? Remember, the King of Cups expands whatever the card it's connected to is. So when I see this with the Five of Cups, it's like I'm in my feelings here. So again, I'm not saying it's you. It could be someone else where it's like, oh, they're feeling pretty rough here, especially with the situation or problem we've been picking up, where it's like these are big, big, big feelings. But I do like the King of Cups here, aside from the big feelings that I'm picking up, because at some point it's like we have it under control. That's the one thing I like it. And the most important thing I hear, or I'm feeling, or I'm getting, is that it's important to be kind to yourself and not to be too hard on yourself. Um, don't put all the blame on you or don't beat yourself up. Make sure you're doing self love, self care. Super important in this time. Because when I see the Five of Cups, King of Cups in the upright, it's like, it's all my fault. I always mess it up. So I'm not saying you, it could be someone else where it's like I always mess things up. It's always my fault. I always do things the wrong way. There's like a certain self-deprecation I'm picking up here. So watch out for that. Be kind to yourself and love yourself. Let's go through and do a quick recap. Then we'll get into the shadow. Lots of other people here. So I did already mention it. If you're energetically sensitive, like with this and this and this, we have all these different people. A lot of these energies, if you feel them through the next week, they might not even be originating from you. So just keep that in mind, especially if you're getting like rapid spikes and feelings. But position number one, I have the Two of Wands with the Knight of Cups in the upright. Nice, cool. Good intentions, but to me, it feels like someone not micromanaging, but trying to be very specific and planning something perfect. Like it needs to be perfect before I move further. And I think that's great. That's good. But at the same time, it's like at some point, action is necessary and the planning has to be put to the side. In the center, we have the Queen of Pentacles with the Seven of Wands. Yeah, there could be a problem or a situation where, or just an overall feeling where it's like, why does it always have to be a fight? Now, I like that this energy doesn't give up. I like that this energy continues to move forward. There is this goal oriented type of vibe, but I don't know what about it feels like it's not easy. Or it's like it's always something. It's always a fight, or oh, this always happens to me. Moving to the back end, we have the Five of Cups, King of Cups in the upright. Big feelings, big emotions. So there is a bit of an emotional warning, even if none of it is generating from you. There's like an effect that it might have on you. That maybe that's why I was getting that compartmentalization in the beginning. I did also see a suppression or trying to keep emotions under control. Nothing wrong with that. But the biggest warning we have back here is that of not being too self deprecating and to be kind to yourself, love yourself, and, just be nice. Like treat yourself in a beautiful way and don't blame yourself for everything. Or again, if that's not you, it could be somebody else. They're like putting a lot on themselves. So please take a screenshot if you want to look into that further. Let's see what's in the shadows. Okay, let's get a good shuffle here. And I always like to pull one shadow card at the very end just to see whether it's something within you or something you don't quite see. Shadow cards don't always have to be a challenge. They could be a good thing. So let's get you one. And if you made it to this point in the reading, please feel free to check out channel memberships. I'll put a link for it in the comments below. It's a beautiful way to support the channel, and I have much love for all my channel members. Okay, let's get this shadow card out here for Saggy. What do we got? Okay, cool. Two of Pentacles, that's balance, and it does tie in with this energy I felt very early on within the reading, where this energy can feel pretty neutral. So it's, yeah, we have other people's energy. We have some ups, we have determination, we got some downs. But the Two of Pentacles is an energy that's doing its best to try to balance these things. Now, I will say this card in its shadow form could either represent someone or something that is very imbalanced or someone that's juggling a lot of things. So I think it's super important for a lot of Saggies not to overload your plate, especially with this energetic sensitivity I've been picking up, whether you're putting too much on yourself or you're picking up on things and you're feeling things that aren't necessarily yours. Like the Two of Pentacles can overload its plate. So I think pacing yourself with someone or something is super important. Pace it, don't rush it. There's something here about that neutrality that I think is good, because this energy is juggling quite a bit. Aside from that, this energy feels like it's doing its best, though. Like it's doing its best to keep everything going. And I can't fault an energy for that. So, Saggy, that's what I have for you this week, my beautiful friends. Don't click away just yet, though. I'm going to give you the details of the March subscriber surprise. If you would like further insight into your situation and you'd like to have a chat with me, you can book a personal session with me at my website, mastermetaphysics.com. The March calendar is live and spots go quick, so you could go check that out. But for the March subscriber surprise, we're doing another winner's choice. I will choose 3 subscribers to win either a copy of the Everyday Witches Tarot, beautiful deck, or a handmade crystal pendant, which I showcase at my website, mastermetaphysics.com. So if you'd like to get your name in for that, it's 2 simple things. As always, my friends, first, you must be subscribed. And second, let me know down in the comments, what zodiac signs do you get along best with? Which ones are your favorite? You'll be entered to win, and at the end of the month, the winners will be announced in my community tab. As always, my friends, much love, and I'll see you soon.